You can tell that we're lighthearted here. Sunday Assembly was actually founded by comedians in England. But we do like to go deeper and go deeper into our hearts and minds. And Ellen's poems start getting there into the transition. But our speaker this month, I think, will do that even more. You know, our guiding principles, our sort of credo, if it were, is to live better, help often, and wonder more. And those are kind of our touchstones. I actually find that going back to those helps me, and also helps us figure out what to present here. Something that's along those lines that we've never touched on here in our 5 years of meetings is meditation. And it's not hard to imagine how that would resonate with those concepts and precepts that we have at our core. So we were looking for someone to speak on meditation, but didn't want somebody who, you know, is just trying to promote their yoga studio and would give kind of the pop version of it. And I happen to know someone who's been meditating for many, many years. I've known this person for many, many years. And I trust him to give us honest and valid and time-proven insights into what meditation is about and how it can help you live better. And with that, I would like to introduce my brother, Gregory Yates.
It's not too personal. I would like to ask, if you're comfortable, how many of you have something that you would identify as a regular meditative practice? Okay, good. All right, so I'll be preaching to the choir to some extent here. My own practice, meditative practice, looks a lot like Zen. And, but I'm not saying that that's the only way to meditate. But my experience, my relationship with religion, and I've been practicing for 40 years consistently, has been the place to find the baby is in the bathwater. So I've actually dived into a lot of different religions and looked for the baby in all of the different religions. And the one practice that I consistently have come back to, and that seems to me to be the one that has propelled me the most forcefully in a direction that feels right to me, is basic, very stripped down, simple meditation, or more simply, upright, immobile sitting. When I say the word, the word meditation is a pretty big word. It means a lot of things to a lot of different people. In my own practice, I have tried many different forms of meditation, but the one constant factor is I sit down, I sit upright, and I sit still. That's the constant. And that's mainly what I'm going to show you today. Because I'm going to leave it up to you to have your own adventure, whether you want to try stuff or not. I should say that everything we do has the flavor of meditation in it to some degrees. There's sort of different degrees of it. So, for example, you're already sitting still and you're together with each other. These are aspects of meditative practice, in my experience, important aspects. But looking at your slogans and thinking about trying to help the world and help ourselves and each other, if someone gave me, said, you have one word to say, that's all you have to say to be helpful to the world, to yourself, to other people, what word would that be? And the word I would pick would not be love. The word I would pick would be sit. Why is that? Sitting seems so kind of neutral and bland. But the beginning of love, it seems to me, it's hard to love if we're not paying attention to other people. It's hard to love if we're not paying attention to how we are participating in what's going on. It's hard to love if we're just sort of smearing our biases and prejudices and delusions all over the world wherever we go. We're actually kind of making a mess when we do that. So that's why I come to the word sit, because I have found, and many others before me, and many of you here today, find that it's a really good way of seeing all of these things, all of our biases, and all of the ways we are behaving that maybe actually on reflection we'd rather not behave, or more positive way, ways we would like to behave that we might try out. So Having said that there are many different approaches, and I go to meetings where a lot of women are knitting all the time, and that's a very example of a very simple, basic meditative practice. It has a lot of the elements of meditation right in there. So there's many different approaches. And what I'm going to show you today is basically Zen meditation. I would say about Zen meditation, it's kind of like Denali or Chomolungma. It's a thing that anybody will find if they go into meditative practice long enough and really take it seriously. They're going to gravitate towards, I think, and I'm reading history and looking at other people, I've noticed, they come to the essence of quiet sitting. And so I'm going to show you the basic posture of Zen meditation and explain it. From the outside, it looks like a dogma. Oh, you must sit this way. But actually, what it is the distilled wisdom of people who have tried to sit still regularly for a long time and figure out how to do that in a way that cultivates a balance and is not harmful to their body. That's a key, is to find a posture that your body can sustain for enough time that you can begin to notice what's going on in your mind and what you're doing with your life. So although it looks somewhat dogmatic, it looks like it's a form, actually it's just the distilled wisdom about how to sit still without hurting yourself. Okay, so I'll just, let me see if there's anything else I want to introduce. Usually I sit on, I can sit on a hard floor, but most people put down a mat of some kind here, and this is my portable inflatable cushion. The Japanese word for that is zafu, so I'm used to thinking of it as a zafu, but it's a cushion, just a pillow. And the key thing is this needs to be, the point of the mat is to protect your knees and your ankles if they're on the ground so they don't hurt if you sit a long time. And the point of the cushion is to hold your butt up in the air so that your spine can go into a natural shape. So I will start with facing you. And I'm going to dispense with the, well, I'll tell you what, in Zen, when we sit down, we usually bow to the cushion and then we bow towards everybody else. And it's sort of an acknowledgement that I'm honoring what I'm about to do in this body, and then I'm honoring my relationship to all of you and the whole universe and how they're totally integrated. So that's one. I'm not a big stickler for religious forms, but that one I do understand and makes sense to me. So I do that from time to time, not all the time. Okay. Many of you will not be able to sit like this. Too old, too much arthritis, things of that sort. But it's worth trying to see how close you can get it. And there's all kinds of modifications of the posture that are possible depending on your body. But I'm going to show you the basic posture to give you the idea. All right. So if you're sitting, okay, the main idea is to feel that you're on the ground. You're grounded. That's a key part. I tend to think of meditative practice as being like a seed. Okay, what does a seed do? It sits on the ground, and then it sends roots down into the soil, and then it holds leaves up to light, whatever that might be for a seed. And so I'm kind of being a seed when I meditate, when I sit. I'm going to have to put this down and talk loud so that I can show you the whole thing. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
going to talk loud. Okay. I am in what's called half lotus position. I actually like to sit full lotus. This is full lotus, but my knees, if I do that for hours, my knees don't like it. So typically in a meditation retreat, I will do this for the last period of meditation or something like that. And I really like the way it feels. Why? It's really grounded. You feel very solid when you sit like this. On the cushion, this is key, you want the cushion to be high enough. A lot of people experience a lot of difficulty if they start with a cushion that's too low. Don't worry about looking ridiculous. Start high, and then slowly move your cushion down, smaller cushions over time to what works for you. And the idea is to allow the spine to take a natural shape. What I like to do is imagine that I'm being grabbed by a top knot and pulled up so that all of my vertebrae are like separated and then gently let down so they stack up in sort of natural order. So it's not ramrod straight, although in my case it may look a little bit that way. It's not. It's just the natural curve of the spine. And begin to relax as you do this. Now I put this is the classic meditation posture in Zen. There's all kinds of different things you can do. This is, what's the point of this? Well, it actually, you will discover this soon, and many of you already know this because you're already sitting. It's not easy to sit upright and still, and it takes attention. In fact, the whole enterprise is a bit about paying attention. Believe me, if you want to love people, it really helps to start with attention. And this practice cultivates that. It cultivates attention. And that's what this arm position is doing. It's saying, it's gentle, it's round, it's full of energy, and it requires attention to sustain it. It's relaxed. I hold my hand up because of my body. Most people, their hands down on their lap, and sometimes if I'm exhausted, I do put my hand down here. But to keep for maximum energy in meditation, I actually lift my hand up off the mat. Don't feel bad if that's too hard for you. Now you'll see my hand doing this. I think this is underestimated, the importance of what you do with your hands in meditation. Again, it's round. The space between the fingers, thumbs here, is important. I have an image that helps me remember what I'm doing there, which is to think of a butterfly. And sometimes you'll see butterflies with their wings up and touching each other. Imagine that you have a butterfly like that between your thumb tips. You don't want to hurt the butterfly, and you don't want it to fly away. So that's the exact kind of energy and tension you want in between your fingertips if you do this. I call that the magic gap, just my term for it. You can have a magic gap in all kinds of different ways. If you're sitting in the bus station waiting for a bus and don't want to look weird, you can just sit normally and see my finger here? I'll make a magic gap between my finger and my knee. Again, the butterfly is there. What's the point of that? It really brings the attention. It's actually a feedback device is what it is. If you find your attention lapse, flagging or going somewhere else, your finger will flying off or push into your knee, and suddenly you'll notice, oh, my finger is doing that, and then you realize, oh my gosh, I wasn't paying attention, my attention lapsed. So you can do, the magic gap is very handy. You'll see people doing like this. If you're just sitting, if you're out in the world and there's not a slope or a chair or a cushion to sit on, and you have to sit on the flat ground, then putting your hands like this won't work because you'll tip over backwards. And in that case, you'll see people sitting like this. And here, you'll see the magic gap happening on the fingers like that sometimes. So that's a very handy way to sit if you don't have a cushion and you're in a flat place. Okay, so there you are, sitting like this. Typically, you've settled in. Typically take a few deep breaths. There's a lovely breathing pattern that I've been using for years, which is to breathe in to a count of 4, hold for a count of 7, and breathe out to a count of 8. That is a very relaxing, if you experience a lot of anxiety, that can be helpful, just in general as a practice. But it's a good way. I do that 2 or 3 times at the beginning of the sit. And then, okay, so my nose is in line with my navel, my ears are in line with my shoulders. People often have a tendency to put their head too far forward or get green and keep their head back. Try to keep your head up and straight. In Zen, we look down. The idea, we also look at a wall. We keep our eyes half open. The point, I should say, is to be attentive, to wake up, to be awake, to not be drowsy and just living the on and on cycles of our mind. And so we keep our eyes generally you'll find that people, their eyes are sort of half open. The eyes are down. You'll be sitting facing the wall, so you're looking down at a wall, but your eyes are not fully closed or fully open. That produces a kind of a balance between the inner and the outer, which is where you kind of want to position your attention so that you're related to the world. So that's a good thing to do with your eyes. You can do whatever you want. It won't kill you to close your eyes completely, and sometimes I do that, or open them wide up, sometimes I do that. You'll do it all. And then you just settle into regular breathing, natural breathing. You'll hear, many of you here are probably doing specific kind of breath practices and breathing. This is not the practice. I've tried a lot of those, and natural breathing is the one, I feel the least bullshit. Just it works just fine, natural breathing. Breath is interesting, by the way, because breath is right between the conscious and the unconscious mind. You can breathe without thinking about it, or you can breathe intentionally. That makes breath an extremely powerful entity to work with. All right, so there you are, sitting, breathing naturally. And then, a good instruction about you is put your tongue on the roof of your mouth, the tip of your tongue right behind your teeth, somewhere gently. Okay, I think that's your whole body. Then there's your mind. Welcome to your mind. This is where it gets interesting. Most people discover pretty quickly that, oh, I'm no good at this. In fact, that's why most people quit. They say, my mind is just all over the place. I'm not cut out for meditation. Guess what? I've been no good at meditation for 40 years. I'm still no good at meditation. Nobody's ever good. Well, there are moments when you feel like, oh, I'm good right now. And that happens, and that's cool. It's fun, and it passes. For the most part, I'm no good at meditation. I'm just kind of, I heard one monk say, the way to be in the present is to return to the present. And that's kind of a good instruction for meditative practice. It is about being present. It's about just coming back to what you're just sitting there. Now, this may not seem like much. Why is this so amazing? What is amazing about it? Well, a lot of things can be said, and you'll have to have your own adventure about it. But, for one, you're not killing anybody when you're doing this. Very basic things. I mean, you can imagine, if you're in a philosophy class, you say, well, professor, I can imagine a situation in which a sitting person was actually killing someone. But let's face it, that's kind of a bizarre made-up story for the most part. So generally speaking, you actually, in Zen, they say you're obeying all the precepts when you sit still. You're not killing, you're not lying, you're not stealing, you're basically behaving rather well there. So it's good, basic practice for behaving well in this world. And your mind is settling. You're not reacting to all the things. One of the things you'll notice is, oh, I want to move. And the normal thing would be to move. That's a reaction. You're reacting and you'll notice that you're a slave of all these impulses. Those things have been driving you. It's starting with the simple one of I want to move my leg, I want to move my body, I don't want to sit still. But then you'll see it all through your whole life. All these things you are slaves to. And if you practice sitting, you become free from those. It's not that they cease to exist, but they cease to push you around as much, and they quiet down. And you become freer. Freer to pay attention to people, freer to pay attention to the world, freer to love. So I think that's, I'm not going to say too much more about it. Let's see. If I have a suggestion, is just to look at your own life, what you're doing already that has some of the flavor of meditative practice in it. And see, just sort of, pay attention to what you're doing. And see if you're drawn to it. Nobody's trying to force you to do any of this. It's all very natural in the sense that if you're meant to meditate, you will be drawn to it. If you're meant to sit. If you're meant to sit harder, you will sit harder. In my case, I'm half autistic, and I had no choice. If I had a choice of either living in a socially isolated hell or doing some really hard work. And so I've had that advantage in my life to drive me, my practice. And I'm grateful for that, although it wasn't very unpleasant for a lot of years. So people have different forces driving their lives, and you'll find your own. I want to say a word to the God people here. I'm a God person also, by which I mean it has nothing to do with belief. It has to do with instinct. The instinct to relate to the whole universe at times as if it were a being. And, I'm not saying it is, this is just the way I'm cut out. And that many people have that experience.
And I find that this basic practice of just sitting works well with that. So I just want to make those of you who are God people who pray, for example, feel at home with this practice. This is not an atheistic practice. This is a neutral practice, if you will, that has, you can see it from many different directions, like a mountain. Well, just to put a point on that, when I sit from the God point of view, I can also look at it, I'm a brain scientist as well, from a brain science point of view, I can look at this practice from many different directions. But from the God point of view, since my guess is that there's probably some quiet God people out here, in this practice, I bring my best effort to be helpful as a human being to the universe. I'm making a sacrifice of my effort, of myself. I'm giving up. I surrender. I'm letting the universe work on me when I do this, or God, if you wish. I don't really care about the word. So I'm just trying to throw out that there's a lot of different ways you can look at this very simple practice. And I think that's where I'll end. Yeah. Okay?
All right. Thank you.